Alright, Royal Rumble. I'm going to try and talk not too loudly because this is not the third time I've said I don't want to disturb my neighbors. It's past 12. Long show. Now, let's put this in perspective. We had a lot of questions of how great this was going to be or how good it was going to be. I'm going to tell you now, before you even hear my review of this and my own interpretation of how they produced it. It was good. I will not tell you the show wasn't good. It was good. We got stuff that we expected. We got stuff that we didn't expect. And now we have even more questions going to WrestleMania. And particularly Elimination Chamber. Because it's obvious we got something set in motion that's going to lead to Elimination Chamber that will lead to WrestleMania. Let's start. We got the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, as you guys know, I said it already. I was hoping Trinity would not show up or Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. Now, I was pretty certain that Mercedes was not going to show up. I did not believe she was going to come there. And she did not. She was not participating in any of it. But the first person that came up was Natalya. Now, I don't remember if she's ever done it before. I think she has never been number one. But in this situation, they chose to make her number one. Number two was Naomi. She is now back in WWE. I do believe that she's re-signed. I don't know. She could be re-signed now, or this could be a one-off. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think it will be a one-off. She's now returned to WWE because she believes she's now safe enough to now be a part of the company that has now gotten the situation they have. I told you guys I'm not going to talk about Vince, about the lawsuit. I'm just mentioning it in passing. Okay? But she chose to come back. Many people I know are going to be beyond happy. There's going to be so many people that's going to be happy. Not just talking about the fans, but a lot of wrestlers in the back, including her husband. I know he's going to be happy. And I got my thoughts about when he was in the Royal Rumble. But this is what we got. The first two was Natalya and Naomi starting. The third was Bayley. I was quite surprised they would put her that early. I thought they would make her maybe 5 or 8 because they're trying to make it so important about her dealing with damage control and wanting to fulfill her destiny or her prediction of what was going to happen with damage control. Because the vignette she had talking about damage control and about her belief and what is the future was pretty good. There wasn't nothing wrong with it. I didn't mention a lot about it, but I did believe it was effective this Friday on SmackDown. So I did not expect her to be the first 3 there. One of the first 3. I did not, after that, expect that Jordynne Grace. Now, mind you, I know someone said in one of my comments, dude, wouldn't it be great if Jordynne Grace is there and Naomi was there? And I said, he asked me, what did I think? And I told him, I don't know. I'm not going to say that great things are happening with TNA dealing with WWE. I can't. No matter what anyone says, I cannot say that because they're showing the Knockouts champion there, that this is great for the company or this isn't great for the company. I can't say that. I can't. It's easy to say it, but you can't. Because what's going on with WWE, no matter how much you don't want to admit it, WWE has a problem. It does. Because of the lawsuit. No matter what anybody says, we don't know how far that's going to go. In passing, again, I'm saying this. And that's what I left as a comment. That's the reason why I'm saying it. So, seeing that Jordynne Grace is there was great to see. I won't say it wasn't. I've always known Jordynne Grace is one of the best wrestlers there is. It's one of the reasons why I still do TNA wrestling reviews, because I know their women's division is better than WWE's. I'll say it again. The women's division in TNA may be small, but it is better than WWE's. I'm sorry, you have a packed and stacked roster does not mean it's a better roster. It isn't. You get more better stories from TNA and back in the past, Impact, than you've gotten from WWE. It's just the truth. You can look at the history. And I knew that Jordynne Grace winning, she was going to represent TNA well. And I did expect there was a possibility that they would do the same thing they did last year, like with Mickie James. I just could not say it was good for TNA, because let's make this clear. I'm going to be honest here. This is the truth. Whether you like to hear this or not, we're talking about Jordynne Grace. We're not talking about Moose. Yeah. Their fucking champion should be on the Royal Rumble instead of Jordynne Grace. Or at least it should be both of them. It should be Jordynne Grace and fucking Moose representing the company. But no. This was set up because of Mickie James and what controversy happened with that with the trash bag. I'm not saying that Triple H didn't set something up and said, look, we want to keep doing this because seeing that it's an outsider that we've always known about and most of our wrestlers go to you eventually, or we get wrestlers from you, we want to do something with you. I won't say that isn't something that hasn't happened. It has. But like I said before, I can't tell you if this is helping TNA a lot, especially with what's going on with the lawsuit long term. I'm just telling you. Now, it was good to see this. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Throughout most of the women that was there, we did get, of course, Indy Hartwell. We got Chance and Carter. We got Candice LeRae, who honestly didn't look 100% bad, but one of the worst wrestlers there, and I'm saying it right now, it wasn't Indy Hartwell who was the first one who had the job and be kicked out of the ring. It was Chelsea Blackheart. Chelsea. I don't know what it was. I'm telling you right now. Chelsea, who was, what number was she? Wasn't, where was she? She wasn't, I'm trying to find her right now. She was number 20, number 20. Chelsea was number 20. And throughout that match, I don't know what it was. She looked awkward as fuck. And I'm not even hating Chelsea. I actually like her. I think one moment when she was working with Bayley, and due to the fact she wanted to be in solidarity with her sister to show she loved her, she cut her hair off because she was going through chemo. They had something with her for one moment, and then they dropped it. And from that moment on, no matter what you do with Chelsea, it didn't seem to work. And when you saw her in this match, she looked awkward as fuck. And I'm not saying she can't wrestle. I'm not saying she isn't a beautiful woman. I can't even say that she can't even talk, because she can talk decently well. But since that moment when they dropped her storyline with Bayley, she's done nothing that made any sense. She's always been the odd one out. And when you see her in this match, that's what you get. Legitimately, that's what we get. That's what we see. And that was one of the things that I saw. Then we get the Kabuki Warriors, and then we get Kylie Sane, who, what number was Kylie? Kylie was, I'm trying to find it because I got a lot of names here. Sane was 11. And she did all right. And then that last moment when you had Asuka with her, she came in as number 7. They were working with Bayley, and Asuka didn't want to really do much with Bayley, but when Kylie came in and she did that one move, and I do believe I got a shot of it, and she's literally spread eagle her arms and trying to keep herself from hitting the floor, and eventually she does lose it, and she does get kicked out of off the apron. And I will tell you, she just pulled a Kofi or a John Morrison. And I thought that was quite interesting that it's Kylie who did it and not maybe Naomi or anyone else. That was fine with me. What I did like, it was interesting to see two women that I was waiting to have an interaction with. And that was Bianca and Jordynne Grace. You got two of the strongest women there. And it was really interesting to watch them. Now, of course, they did have Ivy Nile, who's also pretty strong herself. But she's not the top of the heap. She's not the one they're spotlighting the most. Because, remember, Bianca is one of the 4 that is spotlighted as being in the Royal Rumble. And seeing that Jordynne Grace, the current TNA Knockouts champion, was nose-to-nose with a Bianca Belair was a nice thing to see. I'm not going to tell you it was not. I enjoyed it. And I got to tell you, Jordynne did a great job. She did get kicked out eventually. But at least they did give her a chance to spotlight herself very early, because I think Mickie was 15th or 18th the last time they did this. I don't remember what number. You could tell me what number. I'm not remembering. I think she was past 10 easily. But Jordynne was 5th. So it was nice to see they gave her that moment, that she had a good run for at least a good 10, 15 minutes. I think 10, maybe at least easily 15 minutes. When we got to, let me give it to you like this. When Valhalla came out and R-Truth came out afterward, it made me think, you're really going to do that with R-Truth and Valhalla? I didn't expect Valhalla to get very far. I didn't think she'd do anything. And she basically jobbed quicker than Chelsea Green did. And Chelsea did last a lot longer than last time. She was only in there for 5 seconds. But Valhalla gets distracted by R-Truth. And then she basically, once R-Truth gets thrown up by Nia Jax, who, remember, Nia Jax actually hurt R-Truth. Yes, one of the few men that got injured by her was him. He got his ankle messed up because of her, throwing him around. She was the one who threw him out the ring, because that's around the time when Nia Jax got in the ring. And I'm going to say something about Nia in a minute, but when you see the situation, you wonder what's going to happen between R-Truth and maybe Ibar. Because if they keep them separate on 2 shows, I wouldn't be surprised. But seeing that Valhalla got screwed over by R-Truth, you would either think Valhalla's going to get revenge on R-Truth, or it's going to be Ibar is going to get revenge on R-Truth. That's a possibility. But that's how it felt. Let's get to Nia Jax. I'm going to tell you this. When I saw Nia Jax come in the ring, and already by then Jordynne Grace had already been gone, I was thinking there's only one reason why she's there. One. I know no one's going to believe me, but I knew. I knew by the time it was nearing the end, she was still there. There's only one reason why she's there. There's only one person that can get rid of this woman. And I knew it wasn't going to be Bianca. Nope. It wasn't going to be Liv Morgan. Nope, because she was number 30. She wasn't going to be Tiffany Stratton, who did come out, and I'll talk about the NXT people coming in. But there was only one, and that was Jade Cargill. I knew Jade was going to be the one. I had that feeling by the time we were already, when did Nia come in? Nia came in at 19. It was around the time of, Shayna Baszler, number 23. I knew that she was there for that long. I knew she was coming. If she didn't come early, I knew she was going to be near the end. And I knew that's the only reason Nia Jax was allowed to stay. And I was right. That woman came down, walking down there. And I'm going to say this honestly. Jade Cargill is gorgeous. I'm not going to tell you she ain't. But she made a bit of an error with her clothing. Because as you can see from the image, I'm reflashing it again. She did not put any bracing between her chest. Like some women will put like an extra piece of cloth to make sure that their boobs could not jiggle too much inside their top. Yes, she's wearing a bra under her clothing to make sure that nothing pops out. But it was obvious at one point during that match, nearing the end, when she got eliminated by Liv Morgan, that her titties were kind of getting a little wobbly in there because of how rough she was working in that ring. And I won't say she didn't do a good job. She did. She did a great job. And to Naomi, because eventually, and these two are friends. Naomi and Jade are friends. They had a good amount of interaction during the match. I even saw Chelsea talking with Naomi a couple of times when she was on the floor during the match. But seeing Jade work with Naomi while that match was going on was not too surprising, because she knows Naomi. Not that they wrestled each other, but at least she was familiar with her. compared to anyone else in that ring, which is fine. I didn't have a problem with that. And Naomi lasted how long? I think 46 minutes, 45 minutes, which was great. She was number 2. I don't ever remember her being that low in that type of match. I think she was never in the match. I mean, don't know. I can't remember. I'm sure she's been in one of those matches. Yeah, at least 2 matches, maybe 3. But essentially speaking, I don't think she lasted that long before. So it was nice to see. Now, let me give you this. We got Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez from NXT. And I'm going to tell you this. 100%. I was angry. I was angry. I'm going to tell I was angry. I was. You know why? Instead of leaving the tag champs out and leaving it for next SmackDown or having a match for them on the kickoff show. I know people can say, dude, that's not fair on them. Look, I would have liked to see them on Royal Rumble. No problem. But why did you have so many of the main roster women there when you need to bring up new women? Because I'm going to be honest here. You want to know how many women on the main roster have stories? Maybe 4. 4 storylines, maybe. Maybe 4. And if anybody says there's way more than that, prove it. Rhea Ripley doesn't have a real storyline right now. She does not. When it comes to Io Shirai, she has a story with Bayley and what's going on with that. That's it. Then if you're going to talk about it, you might say about Becky, who did have her time in the match and dealing with Nia Jax. That's number 3. So what is number 4? Pretty much Bianca. That's the only one else that had somewhat of a capable story. So you generally have 4 women who had story. That's it. And how many women that are on the main roster? You only had 2 women, 2, that are from NXT. You had Jade Cargill, who does not have a story yet, and Naomi, who's coming in, who didn't have a story yet. And pretty much Jordynne Grace, who has no story other than being I'm trying not to get angry, who is a champion in a rival promotion that is allowed to be here. So what did you have? The rest are the main roster. Where is the rest of the women that you need to promote? Really, there isn't. Alba Fire, she's got no story. Chanson Carter had no story. Piper Niven had no story. Pretty much, when it came to Xia Li, she had no story. Zelina Vega had no story. Indy Hartwell was the first one out. And I got something to say about Indy Hartwell and Grayson Waller. I got something to say about that, if I don't forget. Pretty much, you only got Bayley's story. You have maybe, at that time, Bianca's story, Becky's story, and Io's story. You don't have anything else. That's it. And that pisses me off. You're having all these women here, and you could have made a story using NXT. That could have helped that brand there. But it ain't. Let's move on. We know who won. It's Bayley. Bayley won, and she will be going for either Rhea Ripley, like she said, or Io. My guess is she will be going after Rhea. And we will be seeing her a lot more on Raw, since she is a SmackDown wrestler. I will say, this Women's Royal Rumble was actually quite good. A lot better than last year, to be honest. I think it's a lot better. It is. I don't know about anybody else, but I believed it was a lot better in this situation, and particularly with Jordynne Grace, who's a lot more physical wrestler than Mickie James, who I do love. Understand, I love me, Hardcore Country. I love me, Mickie James. I do. I will always love that woman. A beautiful half-power tan woman who follows Native American culture. For me personally, it means a lot to me. But comparing it to Jordynne Grace, Jordynne was a better pick, and she proved how good she is as a champ. I can understand why they stripped it off of Naomi since she was going back to WWE, and they put it on her because they wanted to represent their company as best as possible in this situation. But as I said before, and I'm saying it again, and I know people are not going to listen because they're going to want to listen what they want to listen. We still do not know if this really helps TNA. As much as you say the exposure doesn't mean a lot when there's controversy. Remember, yes, they're going to talk about an Twitter X. Yes, they'll talk about it in most of these sports outlets. But what's more important? Hearing that Jordynne Grace did well, or what's going on with fucking Vince? You tell me what they're going to care more about. What's going to get more traction? Is it Jordynne Grace being an incredible knockouts champion who worked well in the match, or fucking Vince and his lawsuit? You tell me below right now. What's more important to the press right now? It won't be Jordynne, and she will get some traction. She will get something, but will it really help TNA in the long run? That's what you guys don't want to hear. We don't know. That's why I said in my comments, I don't know. Moving on. Second match, which I actually was quite surprised. I was really surprised about this match. I thought it was going to be KO and Logan Paul, but no, it was a fatal 4-way. Really? I was quite surprised to see the fatal 4-way coming first before Logan Paul and KO. I would have thought they switch it, but they chose not to. AJ versus LA Knight versus Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns. I will tell you, the match was good, but there was something that was a little worrisome. Because the match was fine, it wasn't that bad, but nearing the end of the match, when, how did he hit him? When, I can't remember how he hit him. I don't think it was by a phenomenal forearm. I believe it was him kicking him directly in the face. And that was AJ. Shoulder pain to a Randy Orton. When he landed, he grabbed his shoulder very, very quickly. Like, he got kicked just so right that really messed up his shoulder. He was feeling it. That's the way it was looking, like this. Going. That's how he basically was next to his arm and hitting the mat. And that was Randy. I don't think that was fake. I think Randy might have been hurt a little bit. Doesn't mean it's something serious, but he did get hurt. It was a very intense match. I'm not going to tell you it wasn't. And the beginning of it, seeing that AJ and LA were fighting one another a little bit, arguing back and forth, but they straightened it out so they can beat the living crap out of Roman in the very beginning, was fine. I wasn't surprised. Seeing that Solo came out, it was no Jimmy, but Solo came out to help out Roman, I'm not surprised. And Roman winning, I'm still not surprised. I'm not surprised Roman won. But now, the question is, what comes next? How far are they going to go with this? Where is it going to go? That's going to be the big question. It is. Next, Logan Paul versus KO. Now, I'm going to tell you this. This, for me, was, out of the 4 matches, the second best match for me, personally. It was. I think the best match I saw was the women. The second best match was Logan and KO for me personally. Doesn't mean it's the best match overall for everyone, but for me it was because we got a chance to see what happens when Logan has been pushed, because KO pushed him. Let's make this clear. This was about KO having a broken wrist and Logan doing everything he can to keep his title. And literally getting the crap kicked out of him by KO. KO was making clear 100% hard shots to Logan. To the point where I thought that Logan was legitimately getting hurt because it wasn't just the chops to the chest. He was literally giving him really hard hits to the face. He was. That wasn't no joke. Those were pretty damn stiff. You could tell for some of those shots, not all of them. But in the end, it was a good match. And how the ending happened was pretty good because once again, Logan's friend tries to come in with brass knucks. His friend gets caught. Security and the ref catches him. Security gets him out of there. But then it's Grayson and Austin Fury coming out. Gives the brass knucks. Doesn't work because Logan couldn't use it. KO grabs the Nux, nails Logan with it, but he doesn't hide the evidence. It's in his hand, and I don't know if I got that shot. It could be in my face. Maybe. But the ref catches him. The ref catches him, and he DQs the match because of it. And then Logan gets his ass handed to him afterward, which I'm not surprised. But I will say it's a good story. This is not a bad story between KO and Logan Paul. But here's the big question. It's a question people are going to ask. How many more shows is Logan going to do before he goes away again? Will Logan show up on SmackDown? That's going to be a big question now. Is he going to do some more shows before Elimination Chamber? Or is he just going to go away for a little bit and not do anything? Or maybe just talk. And then we'll have the match at Elimination Chamber, because there's no guarantee Logan won't even wrestle. I don't know. This is still a big question. Will Logan come back to do these matches? And will it happen? Or will it happen on just a SmackDown? You guys tell me below. Final match. Royal Rumble for the men. I'm going to tell you this. And I got to say this. I was surprised about the opening. Jey Uso wasn't surprised. They have been showing that Jey is very popular. And particularly that he managed to start using Yeet again. He's very popular. So feeling like Jey could win is something that many people thought is something that's viable. Of course, they already know about CM Punk and Cody, and there's a controversy about Cody dealing with Roman and The Rock, and there's been such huge amounts of controversy where at this point, I am fucking sure that JD is fucking happy. Let's make it clear. JD has been saying it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. There's no way they're not going to do Roman and Cody. But everyone, including just Alex, is saying, forget about Cody. Do Roman and The Rock. Do Roman and The Rock. Who gives a fuck about Cody? That is something that has been said more than a few times. And even though, like I said in my video, I think weeks upon weeks ago, when it came to when the controversy for just Alex came up, and he took a stand on one thing that everyone did not agree with, he should have never gone away from his original premise, where 2 nights before Roman to work, he should have stuck with it. But then he backpedaled on it and started getting angry that people didn't like what he believed in. And now, I don't know what his comments are going to be, because he's wrong. He didn't get what he wanted. And clearly, there's going to be people that's going to try and hound him for it and start harassing him. It's going to happen. Whether anyone who watches this is going to be one of those people or not, this is what's going to happen to just Alex. Because of the comment he made, instead of sticking with, I want both matches on night 1 and 2 and just stick with it, he changed his mind and just said, Roman and Rock, bye-bye Cody. He did say that. He said, see, not now Cody. Bye-bye. It's got to be Rock. Now let's see how he's going to have to deal with that. Because when it comes to JD, he's stuck with his guns no matter how much people hated it. And just Alex went from saying he wants both matches, then to one match, and then arguing about people even complaining about it and not liking it, and then banning people. Because he banned someone on Facebook, I believe. I don't know how he's going to handle it. Hopefully he'll be fine, but this is what he decided to do. But seeing this from Jey was not a problem. But seeing Jey with Jimmy was. Guys, I don't know why they did this. I don't know why they did this. I don't get it. You put Jey versus Jimmy at Royal Rumble. Now, obviously, you could build this going into WrestleMania. Jey versus Jimmy. But as it stands right now, when it comes to Jimmy, he's a joke. I'm sorry. I'm saying it right now. When you watch the match, Jimmy is trying desperately get people to be on his side, trying to, no yeet. He kept doing so much joking around instead of being serious and wanting to pound his brother, that it felt like a fucking joke, like he was R-Truth. I'm being honest, for me personally, anybody else would have been fine how Jimmy worked. But me personally, how Jimmy's been booked for, what, 4 months at least? 3 or 4 months already? He's been a freaking joke. He can't get anything done. He's been jobbing to everyone in almost all matches. The only time he doesn't job is when Solo or Roman saves his ass. He can't get it done. He can't get it done in the ring. He's always acting like an idiot to Roman. He looks like a moron to his younger brother Solo. And I understand they're trying to put Solo over, and they're trying to make sure Roman is dominant. But what is Jimmy? Jimmy's a laughingstock. That's what he feels like. So if for one moment in the beginning of that match, when it was just Jimmy and Jay, when you see Jay looking at Jimmy going, yo man, he doesn't want to be even near his brother, and you see how serious Jimmy is, it's like, this is the Jimmy we should have been getting. Even if he had to join Roman, he should be freaking serious and being second in leadership to Solo, telling his younger brother what to do, even if he's tougher than him. He says, and Solo gives him an attitude, he says, what? What? I know you could whip my ass, but I'm your older brother. What? What? Like something like that. But he's never even exhibited that type of a look of aggression that worked. So this part of the match looked like shit to me. And we get Grayson Waller's number 3. And I'm going to say it right now, Grayson Waller gets his ass thrown out as the first man to be thrown out of the Royal Rumble. He didn't go out immediately, but he lasted a while. But we got both Aussies thrown out of the damn matches. We had Indy Hartwell, who is an Australian, and we got Grayson Waller, who's an Australian. You guys tell me what is that? What that is? What was that? We got both Australians, man and woman, getting their asses thrown out of the ring. Really? What the fuck was that? It's bullshit. You got the woman from Raw getting thrown out, and the man from SmackDown getting thrown out. And I gotta say this, because of what's going to happen with WWE's, with Raw, I should say this, Raw going to Netflix, you had a very unbalanced amount of Raw wrestlers showing up in the Royal Rumble. How many was like, I think 18. 18 Raw wrestlers, if I'm remembering correctly. All that are usually on Raw. All of them. 18. And you know how many you got for SmackDown? 6. And you got 4 unknowns, which was Omos, which was Andrade, who did show up. I'll talk about him in a minute. You got Omos, Andrade. Who else was it? There was another one that was, I can't remember who else it was. I can't remember who else was the one that is now on there. I'm blanking. I don't know why. Pat McAfee. There we go. We got also Pat. And then you got Sami Zayn, which I don't remember which brand he was on. I don't remember. I think he might have been SmackDown, I think. I haven't seen him for a bit, so I can't remember. But I put him in unknown because I didn't remember. But you got 3 unknowns. One of them was Pat, that pretty much was wearing what was snakeskin boots, was called into the ring, and that was on, what was it? Number 22. It was number 22. He got in the ring when Omos was already there, and Omos was number 21, I believe. And he was 22. And oh my gosh, you see him looking at him, he's scared. He jumps in and out, and that was after Braun Breaker had already been in the ring. And it was Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker, and I'll get to them in a minute. But seeing Pat scared out of his wits, going to commentary, he's only been working commentary, but jumping into the ring, think he's going to do something, but then he's scared out of Omos, jumps out of the ring, and he climbs up to the top turnbuckle, and he's going to try and jump down, but then he changes his mind, jump back in the ring, and then he says, you know what, no, forget this. He goes back onto the top turnbuckle again, jumps down to the ring skirt, and then jumps out of the ring. And then you see a Michael Cole messing with him because he only lasted 38 seconds and Michael lasts at least a minute and a half. He's the only one in history of any of the commentators who's been in the ring to last that long, and he was fucking with Pat about that. It was stupid, but you know what? Gotta say this. Even though Pat is only a one-off, but you cannot tell me that the moment he showed up, Michael Cole was really happy. I mean, we know that Michael Cole has become way more reinvigorated since Pat was in as his commentary partner for a while and then left. But ever since then, when he worked with Pat, he was reinvigorated, kind of like with Jim Ross. The best way to say it is Jim Ross, when he joined AEW, he was reinvigorated at first before he started having a issue with skin cancer, when he fell a couple of times and hurt himself. He was reinvigorated, and that's what it feels like with Michael Cole. The moment that Pat showed up, even though he said he knew, he was just happy. And that's something you don't get all the time in pro wrestling, no matter if Vince was there or not. And I'm saying it then, because I know people say, well, that's what happened when Vince is there. It's not about if Vince is there or not. If someone's happy, you can tell. I'm just saying. Now, let's talk about the two NXT guys, which should be more. Should be like 4. We got a Carmelo Hayes, and we got Braun Breaker. Carmelo did a decent job. He came in as number 5. Where Jordan Grace was, that's where Carmelo was. And he did a really good job. I thought he did well during the match. I can't remember when he got eliminated. Maybe about 30 minutes in. 20 minutes I think he lasted before he was kicked out. And then Braun Breaker came in and annihilated everyone. He threw freaking Omos out. And I believe Omos got one person thrown out. And you got, how many he eliminated? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think about 5, maybe 6 people. You got Braun Breaker eliminating on his own. Which was really a good thing. No, who eliminated the most during the match for the women? Nia Jax. And she eliminated, I believe, 5 or 6 women. I believe it was about the same thing as a Braun Breaker. About 5 or 6 for him and 5 or 6 for her. Fine. The minute that Cody came out, that is when people really started getting hyped. Now, they also got hyped when Andrade came out. And once you see Santos Escobar and pretty much Carlito dealt with each other, which you guys, if you've seen my SmackDown review, you know I was pissed. But once you see that Santos and Andrade mess with each other, I could tell something's about to happen. I don't know if Andrade is going to be on SmackDown. He may just go to Raw. But I felt that this is the beginning of something where either's going to be forced to try and join LWO or Legado del Fantasma. Del Fantasma. I think Andrade is going to be forced to pick one or the other. He's going to be approached. If he goes to SmackDown, there's going to be a tug of war between that and that. That's what I think is going to happen. If he goes to SmackDown. That's just me, guys. Tell me below. Now, who looked the most awkward in the match? Dom. I'm going to say it right now. Dominic, who came in as 9, looked the most awkward of the entire match. It was not Finn. It was not Damian Priest. It was Dominic. Dominic just didn't seem to fit. I don't know what it was. See it like this. Dominic has a style that's very laid back. That's the truth. And wearing that thing around his waist, what is it called? I can't remember what it's called. Kind of like what they kind of wear in sumo wrestling, and it's just like I can't say a diaper, but I can't remember what the name of it is. But he always seemed to be way too laid back during his matches. He used to be a lot more energetic, but ever since joining Judgment Day, he went from here, when he was energetic, to here. I'm sorry, you guys can tell me I'm wrong, but that's the way it looks. If you're watching the product, you see Dom, he used to be a much more faster wrestler, and I'm not saying he's gotten hurt or something, but he went from here to here. He just is too laid back for me personally. And during that match, he just didn't look good. He just didn't. I'm just saying it right now. He just didn't look good. And once R-Truth came out, wanted to do a tag match when he's not supposed to do that, trying to save Dominic from The Miz, who was number 25, and R-Truth was 24, I believe. Seeing that R-Truth gets eliminated by Damian Priest, who I believe was 26, Damian just threw his ass out and just ended it. I don't hate Dom, but I think his style is just too laid back for me personally. And then you see Drew get into the ring, and that is when you knew it was nearing the end. Now, I didn't know who was going to come in as 30. Sammy comes in. Wasn't bad. Wasn't great. Wasn't bad. People were very happy to see Sammy, and it's not like I hate Sami Zayn. I do. I like Sami Zayn. But seeing that he was number 30, honestly, no, I don't agree with that. You could have gave that to Punk, or you could have gave that to Cody. Either way, I felt that Cody or Punk could have took the 30th spot, not Sami Zayn. But many people would think, well, that would be too much telegraphing either one of them. True, unless you were going to give to Drew, which that would make the best sense, that Drew have the 30th spot and not Sami Zayn. But I just don't feel Sami really needed that spot. He could have came in at any other spot and everyone would have been happy. But the 30th spot should be for someone that's either to distract or to be the actual winner. And I didn't think that Sami was the wisest one. Now, what can I say else? Who looked the best there? Braun Breaker was one of those two that looked really good. The other one was Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed looked so damn good in that match. Having, who was it? I don't remember who he had on his shoulders. I know he had Dominic. Oh yeah, he had Dominic and Finn on his shoulders and basically did a Samoan drop on him. He's just looks really good in the ring. So who were the last four we had? Gunther, who I knew wasn't going to win. Priest, that I felt was not going to win because he is Mr. Money in the Bank, or Monsieur Money in the Bank. I Senor actually, but I put Monsieur Money in the Bank. Punk, who did have a decent amount of people cheering for him, but it was Cody that were cheering the most. And I knew they're going to dump the last two. They're going to dump Gunther, who did look good, and Damian Priest, who also looked good. And they dumped also Drew as well. And it was down to Punk, and it was down to Cody. Now, I'm not going to tell you I didn't think this, because I did. Because I felt they may try to do a little trickery and have them both fall out the ring at the same time, and they were going to make it a triple threat. Because of the controversy what's going on between CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, The Rock, and Roman Reigns. Because people are not happy either way. They wanted Punk to do WrestleMania, but then they wanted Cody to do WrestleMania, but because of The Rock, everyone was getting angry that they're saying Cody needs to deserve it, but then The Rock needs to do Roman. That's the way it looked. So that's what I thought might happen, that both of them would be eliminated, and it would be a triple threat between Roman, CM Punk, or Cody, or it's going to be Seth Rollins, CM Punk, or Cody. It was going to be either one, because they would have had to try and fix it, and that would have made a big controversy, but it looked like it might do that. But in the end, it was Cody who won. And as I said earlier, JD is justified, and Alex is not. And like I said, I'm not against JD, I'm not against Alex. But when you compare the two, and I respect them both, look, they're making money off of something that I have a passion about. But both of them were on opposite sides, and one stuck to his guns and said it had to be Cody. And when it comes to Alex, he had his decision where he'd rather see them both and stick with it, but he didn't. He just decided to take the opposite, and then he didn't like the backlash of it. And then he started complaining that he didn't like people giving him flack, and he kept saying, I really want them both. Roman with Cody, Rock with Roman. And instead of sticking with that, even if it was impossible, he should have stuck with it. So now, we're going to see this Raw Cody talking about finishing his story and finding out if Roman's going to be on Raw or not. He may not be on Raw, and it's going to be Cody going over to SmackDown and confronting Roman. And we're going to be seeing a lot of Roman and a lot of Cody in the next couple of months. So was this a good Royal Rumble? Yes, it was good. It had a lot of questions going into it. Many of it was solved. Many of it was answered. But we got even more questions going out of it. Not only what's going to happen with Roman when it comes to The Rock, if there's anything that's going to happen with The Rock, what's going to happen with Seth Rollins, what's going to happen with CM Punk, and particularly for me personally because of TNA and Jordynne Grace. What will TNA gain with Jordynne Grace being on Royal Rumble? What will they gain legitimately? They'll get press, but will it be big press? We don't know. This is what happened last year or the year before when it came to, was it last year? I think it last year. When it came to Mickie James. I think last year before, Mickie James showed up. They did get a good amount of press, but did it really lead them into something major? No, but they did just reboot themselves into TNA. So now with them already booted to TNA, what will we really gain from this? Because even though they mostly do their work on streaming, they still do stuff on the network, Access TV. And until they fully move over to streaming, ratings still have something to work, that they get something from Anthem. Remember, Anthem still pays them a certain amount, a percentage. They still make their own money, but Anthem does give them a percentage of being their parent company. They make some type of money from them. And they expect TNA to make money. So, with Jordynne Grace, the question is, will this help them in Access TV? Will Anthem increase their budget a little bit? Because they own Access TV. They run it. So will they get a little bit extra money, which could help them at least do a little bit more than they've been doing, unless they're going to try and break away from Anthem and no longer be owned by them. But this is still a big question. Like I said, we don't know if this really helps Jordynne in TNA or TNA itself. But I'm just saying. I hope this makes any sense. Oh, I got a long editing. That's going to take me at least an hour to edit this. No, 45 minutes to edit it. Near an hour. Peace.